I can still see her face, that smug, rehearsed smile, her manicured nails tapping against the polished oak table, as if she was already counting the money. She didn't even look at me when the lawyer opened the will. She didn't need to. She thought she'd already won. 5 months earlier, when Dad married Vanessa, I wanted to believe she loved him. She was young, beautiful, and knew how to laugh at his jokes. He was a brilliant man, but lonely. After Mom passed, I thought maybe she'd heal him. She called me kiddo, bought me a watch for my graduation, made lasagna on Sundays. Even though she hated cooking, I let her in. I shouldn't have. It started small. She'd often forget to inform me about family dinners and even change the locks. While I was at work, Dad began echoing her subtle digs about my life still being figured out. Then came the night I overheard her on the phone. She made no attempt to whisper. There was no need. Once he's gone, it's all mine. The kid won't get a cent. And that was the plan. I stood in the hallway, clutching the wall until my fingers ached. She knew I heard. Her gaze met mine as she ended the call, a slow curl of her lips. Don't look so shocked, kiddo. This is how the world works. I didn't argue, didn't yell. I simply smiled, and that's when my own planning began. Vanessa thought Dad's will was set in stone. She didn't know Dad trusted me more than he ever trusted her. What she also didn't know was that I'd been helping him restructure his estate for months before his health declined. When the doctor said the word terminal, Dad sat me down. You'll be fine. She's not as clever as she thinks. He handed me the contact of his oldest friend, Robert, his attorney of 30 years. We rewrote the will not to disinherit Vanessa entirely. Dad wasn't cruel, but to make sure she couldn't touch the bulk of his assets without my say. The key was a single clause buried deep in the legal text, a clause that would mean nothing to her until it meant everything. When Dad passed, she didn't cry. She wore black, but she smiled through the whole funeral. By the third day, she was already meeting with a real estate broker, talking about selling his properties. She even cornered me in the kitchen. Don't bother showing up for the will reading. You are not in it. I looked at her. I'll be there. She laughed like I just told the world's funniest joke. The reading of the will, the room smelled like leather and old paper. Robert sat at the head of the table, his glasses low on his nose. Vanessa sat to his right, draped in black silk, acting like a queen awaiting her crown. The first part was predictable. Small bequests to charities, gifts to longtime staff. Then Robert said my name. Vanessa's smile twitched. And to my son, I leave full controlling interest in the Winston Holdings Trust, including all associated accounts, assets, and properties, with the exception of he paused, adjusted his glasses, the residence at 4 Park Lane, and a living stipend of $100,000 per year, which I leave to my wife, Vanessa. Her head whipped toward him. That's it. She snapped. Robert smiled, just a little per the clause in paragraph 14. Any sale, lease, or transfer of trust assets requires the sole consent of your stepson. Without his written approval, you cannot liquidate or encumber any property within the trust. Her lips parted. No sound came out. She turned to me, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. You planned this? I leaned back, calm as stone. No, Vanessa, Dad did. I just made sure it was airtight. She tried to play it off, said she didn't care, but I watched her over the next months, how she wilted when her credit cards were declined because the joint accounts were in the trust, how the brokers stopped calling when they realized she had nothing to sell. I allowed her to stay in the house, offering her a sense of security. However, when she attempted to lease the guest wing for money without my permission, I invoked the clause. I sold the house legally without her approval. She received her stipulated $100,000 annually from the will, sufficient for survival, but not enough to sustain the extravagant life she believed she had seized. The last time our paths crossed, she was outside the Park Lane gates, a suitcase by her feet. She avoided my gaze as I walked past. I paused briefly. Guess you were wrong, kiddo, I stated, and her jaw tightened. I continued on my way. Vengeance isn't born of fury. It's a matter of patience, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, waiting until your adversary's foundation crumbles. Dad used to say a sharp mind cuts deeper than a sharp blade. He was right.